Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive in the left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
at the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. Nova. Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. My God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Okay, welcome to episode 816 of the podcast. Audio only, as we usually do on the first of back-to-backs. They are these episodes are only audio, and they're usually quicker and less detailed than our typical episodes. So the Lakers or the Knicks traveled to LA for the first game of the West Coast trip last night, and they lost to the Lakers. So we're going to talk about that in this show. Sorry, I'm just figuring some things out on my phone here. And you know, I had the feeling that this was going to be a loss. That's kind of the problem, right? Like it's kind of real. It's very bad. Let's cut the shit. It's very bad that at least me, that I consistently go into these games versus these specific teams with impending doom, right? With the anticipation that they're probably going to lose, just expecting the Knicks to, even if they make it a fight, lose the game. I get anxious going in, and I just have a bad feeling. And I think that's not a good thing for a team that's in their first year of trying to actually win a championship. And I think that speaks volumes about where the Knicks are as a contender. But again, I kind of accepted the fact that they are not even going to sniff a conference finals, let alone a finals appearance. But again, for a team that's supposed to be one of those teams in that tier, well, that's OKC, it's Boston, it's Cleveland, and it's the Lakers. And that's way too many teams right there. That's way too many teams that are better than the Knicks. You could argue the Knicks are better than the Lakers, and there are some positive takeaways from that game last night. But yeah, it's those same. Listen, they're 0-9 against quote unquote top two seeds, but it's more than that, right? It's what we've discussed for months. They're 0-9 against those specific teams that do. It's what they do schematically on the defensive end that still remains unsolved. Right, from friggin' ring night to last night, this has been an issue, and it's gonna be what we mostly talk about in this show. But yeah, that tells me where the Knicks are. It tells me how significant the gap is, and that's unfortunate, right? It's not been a team this year that I can say I love rooting for and like have just fallen in love with. It's not really. I haven't enjoyed the season like I thought I would, and I think it's because the expectations have raised and the Knicks have most certainly fallen short of that so far. At least when you're looking at it in the macro perspective. And, last night's game, there really wasn't, outside of Jalen, who we'll get to, no Nick really played great. They were collectively playing well in the first three quarters, right? But you get to fourth quarter and then you get to overtime, and it was just a little disgusting. I thought last night Towns was atrocious, offensively more than defensively. I actually thought the defense held up, and we'll touch on that maybe. Mikal Bridges continues to be useless waste. I'm over that guy. I think it was a terrible trade. Looking back, this hindsight speaking, I would have done it again at the time, not knowing what I would have gotten. Yeah, sure. But I think he's been horrible, and I don't think this is going to work with him here. Is that fair? No, but I'm in an irrational state of mind right now, so let me rant. But no, he's not been good this year. Let's just say it how it is. He's been giving you average point of attack defense when he was supposed to be an elite wing. Now, he was fine last night. He's been inconsistent offensively, 6 points in 43 minutes last night. How many times is Mikal going to be a no-show in these big games? It's not a trend anymore. It's an actual thing. It's not just like a developing trend. It's been a trend. He's just so inconsistent. He doesn't get to the foul line. He doesn't attack. He's not aggressive enough. Sure, I like them to get him, to feature him more. But it's on him too. It is so on him too. I thought last night Deuce McBride and Cam Payne, when we're talking about the bench, they continued to play good defense, but offensively they were very underwhelming. Both had some really big opportunities to make some momentum shifting baskets, but they combined to go 1 for 12 from the field. And I think 1 for 10 from 3. There's some Tibbs stuff from last night, some good, some bad. Of course, if you're on Twitter, you're only going to talk about the bad. And of course, Brunson. A heroic effort from Jalen. But obviously, now there's a chance that he's done for... there's a chance he's done for the regular season. He's got a high ankle sprain. Happened late in the game last night with a minute left. I don't know the prognosis. The Knicks said there is some a beat reporter. There was that report that came out saying that there's optimism because it's just an ankle sprain. It is a high grade sprain, so he's going to miss time, probably weeks. I think the best way to go about this, though, as a fan and as a Knick, is to prepare for him to miss the remainder of the 20 games. Just go about it as that he won't be back until the first round. Not saying that's the timeline, but I do think that's how they should approach it, and that's how I'm going to be looking at it as a fan. I'm not expecting him back for a while. So we'll see what happens in these coming games. Do the Knicks... right now they're the 3 seed still. Do they drop a seed or 2? They do hold the tiebreakers against the 2, 4, and 5 seeds. But I believe if they drop a seed, and things remain as is above them, they won't see Boston in round 2. So, I don't know, man. It was a bad loss. 113-109 in overtime. Let's get to our first break, and when we return, we're going to talk about this loss. Again, I'm hoping to keep this one under 30 minutes. Let's get to it. Be right back. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment, and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. All right. Welcome back to the show. The Knicks lose last night, once again by a score of 113-109 against the Lakers. 2 losses in one night, with Jalen going down for what could be the remainder of the year. I will start on a positive before ending on a negative. I thought for the most part last night, the defensive end, there were some good takeaways. I thought it was an inspiring effort. There were a lot of good things defensively. You got the whole. Well, first and foremost, their focus level from the beginning was good. I thought they played pretty intense defense. They were in sync, and that's been a big talking point all year, right? It's been the communication and the cohesiveness that's lacked, which has led to a lot of defensive breakdowns at the point of attack. But I thought last night, I thought their rotations were on point, even when the guard came off and got into the paint. I thought they made good switches up top. I actually liked the Towns on Luka switch that you saw a lot when Towns was isolated. And that continues to prove all of our point that the Knicks need to switch him more because he continues to hold up against those switches. You saw it against Tatum. You saw it against Luka. Now, both of those guys aren't really athletic freaks. They're more skillsy guards. And I think that's a big reason Towns is able to stay, to keep them in front and do a nice job containing ball. I thought the Knicks made good hedges. Brunson and Towns, I thought I saw a lot of good hedges onto ball screens and onto ball handlers last night. I thought they did it properly with execution. I thought they made good recoveries. Mikal Bridges had a really nice defensive possession with 30 seconds left. The game was tied. Lakers have the ball. Mikal's on the weak side wing, does a nice job stunting and recovering to shut down the Laker offense. I thought the Knicks did a really good job overall, though, on the ball, on those pick and rolls. Good help on the roll. Whether they were in aggressive coverage on pick and rolls, you got mostly good results there. There was some bad Towns stuff, but I liked their, when they were drop coverage, I thought they did fine. They did a nice job weakening the screen, containing ball, preventing drives. Mitchell Robinson from drop was good. Overall, it was a good defensive showing. I really can't get too upset holding the Lakers to 113 and that potent offense across 5 periods of ball. And it wasn't just lucking into missed attempts. They were actually, again, they were crisp in all of the X's and O's. I want to talk a little bit about some of these lineups that we saw because there were some different looks, and I think that's a positive. Early in the second quarter, you finally saw what we've been advocating Tibbs to do more, and you saw Josh Hart play with the second unit. Early in the second, it was Campaign, Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, Josh Hart, and obviously because Hart was out there, Towns was out there. So, first of all, you got the rare 3-guard lineup in Cam, Deuce, Sham. You got that with Hart alongside them, and that's been the big topic all year. You want less Josh Hart with the first unit and more Josh Hart with the second unit because they need they need another creator out there. They need more floor space balance, right? Playing Towns with Hart is much better offense than playing Mitch with Hart. And speaking of Mitchell Robinson, you saw it. You finally saw the first look at it last night. For a couple of minutes in the second quarter there, you saw those minutes where Towns was at the 4 and Mitch was playing alongside him at the 5. And it looked fine. The defense worked. The offense got the job done. Some transition play, but wasn't a ton of half-court offense, so you didn't really get a great look at it. But I liked that Tibbs was smart enough when he went to Mitch to sub Hart out, and he didn't keep Hart and Mitch on the floor with Towns, right? Again, it's not a lineup I love because it does take the 5 off of Cat, and you don't want him playing 4 offensively. But again, I think you'll see it for a few minutes here and there throughout a game, a little longer, obviously in the future, being that Mitch will have a longer minutes restriction, but whatever. It was Brunson, Anunoby, Bridges, Towns, and Mitch Robinson. That was the lineup you saw in the second quarter. So I do wish that Tibbs would be a little more creative and play Deuce in Josh's spot for once, but and I also wish that we got less Josh Hart down the stretch of this game. I'm with some of you on that. However, my biggest gripe wasn't really keeping Hart on the floor because I thought he played fine. I thought it was the strategy with him on the floor late in the game. And that's what I want to dive into for a few minutes here when we get back from our second break here on the show. Stay with us. Episode 816 of the podcast. Be right back. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Welcome back to the show. Episode 816 of BD4. Appreciate you all tuning in. So, the offensive process and execution, another big topic last night. And once again last night, it was the same few things that we continued to discuss, and as repetitive as it gets, it's been a problem all year, so we're going to talk about it. And it's, the cross-matching with wing and big, help coverage off of Josh Hart, and then help being sent to Towns on the post or Brunson pick and rolls, right? And obviously that is all centered around Josh Hart. And it's been the same feeling forever. Ever since Josh Hart has been on this team, it's the one thing that just can't get out of my mind. And any Knicks fan who watches them as religiously as any diehard does knows that Hart is a non-spacer. And in modern NBA, when you're playing only 4 shooters in a lineup and 1 non-spacer, you've got to be perfect for it to work in a postseason series. And he's had some playoff series where he's been countering that scheme well, right? He's done that well against Cleveland. He's done that well against last year against Philly. But there are series like against the Miami Heat, and at times against the Pacers last year, right? Where you saw the flaw. And whether it's Josh Hart cutting more to neutralize the help and force the defense to stay home on him and commit so that Towns can get a clear post, whether it's using him to screen on pick and rolls to clear the big out of paint help and get him up to the level. Or whether it's as simple as taking those open looks that they give him when they drop the big into the paint. They need to get more out of all of that. They need to get more of that. And for a good portion of the game, I did think the Knicks were spamming those Hart pick and rolls for Brunson. And there were moments where Hart was taking open three-point looks, but there were also moments where he hesitated for a good couple of seconds, and then he either took the shot when the defense already closed to him or didn't take it, and that hurt. But I want to go back to those Hart pick and rolls because they were using it. They spammed the Lakers with Hart to get Jackson Hayes up, and it worked. Brunson had damn near 40 points last night. And it was using Hart to play pick and roll with instead of Cat. Now we'll talk about that in a sec, but it was good for most of the game, but then they went away from it. Late game offense, when they needed offense the most, they went away from the Josh Hart screening. And when you do that, you get what you saw in last night's half-court offense late in the game, where it's completely jumbled up in the paint. It just leads to disorganized offense and freelance garbage. Again, I had no major issues with Hart being on the floor. I still would have preferred Deuce as bad as he was offensively, just because he's got the gravity to where he will command the defense's respect, and they won't play those types of coverages on Deuce. But if you're going to be on the floor, you have to be utilized properly. And I felt the Knicks needed to get Jackson Hayes up in high coverage a lot more late. And they did not keep that pace up, and that did come back to bite them late. But again, it's all about finding a balance, right? They continue to, when they face these specific teams against this scheme they run, they continue to have a really difficult time optimizing Towns' gravity. They don't get the full spacing they should out of Towns when they're facing Cleveland, OKC, Boston, these teams with long, rangy wings who can switch 1 to 5. The Lakers. And the Lakers, for a second time last night, they did it the last time the Knicks played them, they were sending heavy help. They were sending help off of Josh Hart to switch onto Towns. And that had led to major issues, right? They were doubling the post again, which leads to tough decision-making from Cat. And they were able to provide gap help off of drives to stop Brunson from fully getting to his spot when he comes off. You know, I thought they were able to silence the Brunson-Towns pick and roll because the wing was on Towns, and that's not a favorable switch, not a favorable ISO for Jalen. And they've still yet to figure that out. From ring night with Al Horford off of Towns and onto Josh Hart and putting the small or a wing on Towns to last night, they have still yet to figure that part out. So it's all about finding that balance. It's using Hart to get the big and aggressive coverage. Okay, good. But you've got to find a way to keep Towns as a weapon. He cannot be a non-threat this consistently against Boston, Cleveland, OKC, the Lakers. You know, I get you can use the short roll with Josh Hart, but another game last night where late in the game, fourth quarter and overtime, I don't think Cat had a single attempt from the field. And that continues to be a trend against these type of coverages. So it's coaching. That's coaching. It's playbook stuff. It's lineup stuff. And that's going to be what I think, even more so than the defense, the downfall in the postseason for the Knicks. So, when talking about ATO offense, I thought the Knicks ATO offense, it's not been good in the Thibodeau era, I feel. And it was awful last night. Now, I think there's a point you get to when you're criticizing ATO offense where you can't make it the macro. There are Knicks fans with very surface level knowledge of basketball criticizing Tibbs for just very generic, not having an offense. And I think that's insane, right? Because the Knicks have a top 5 offense right now. They've been second for most of the season until this slipped the last month or two. Or even the last couple of weeks, right? That's when their offense has slipped majorly. It's been the most elite Knick offense ever. And statistically, it's been one of the best offenses of all time in the NBA. Now, the playbook, again, I doubt the average Knicks fan knows this, and I'm not blaming you because not all of you are freaks who, dive into the details, but the playbook is there. There's a diverse playbook. I don't expect the average fan to know that the Knicks do run a lot of offense out of their chin and thumb series. That's an intricate set that you can get out of that series. You can get many different sets out of that. They run a lot of offense from their delay sets, where they have Towns surveying up top, playmaking, finding cutters. They run a lot of offense out of split actions, where Mikal slips the screen, and they create offense that way. Also, when you do get into late crunch time scenarios offensively, the idea that you don't want your best clutch weapon, your bucket getter, who's been the most clutch player in the NBA by far, the idea that you don't want that guy isoing on the empty side or pick and rolling into an isolation, etc., that's crazy to me. That's crazy. And this is how every NBA offense with superstars at the head operate late in games. And once the postseason comes, that's only going to amplify. I've never understood that. You want this team to play Spurs, 2010 Spurs basketball in crunch time? No, that's not how that works. That's like an old man cliche. Your best player is going to isolate down the stretch of games. That's how this shit works, and it's only going to multiply come the postseason. You're going to continue to spam that. So never will I beg for my most clutch player who's averaging 27 a night to give the ball up when I need a bucket the most. That's the offense that Tibbs spams down the stretch because that's what gets them there, and it delivers every time. The Knicks are 16-7, maybe 8 now, in clutch games, which is or was the second best in the NBA before last night. Might still be. And yes, I didn't love the Deuce McBride long 2 out of the ATO. I didn't obviously love that ATO with Josh Hart taking the mid-range or not getting that look up at the end of regulation. And I would like Towns to get more looks. But again, it's versus these specific schemes, these specific coverages where you can see Tibbs' offensive limitations. So I agree. I actually agree there is a ceiling on Tibbs' offense. I just don't think it's as low as the average fan may think. I think those real issues get exposed in the postseason. But that's really it. We'll wrap this up as soon as we return from break with just a couple of things, and that'll be that. Stay with us. Be back in a sec. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune in to our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. All right. Welcome back to episode 816 of the podcast. Thanks for tuning into BD4. Really briefly, let's hand out your Bing Bong game balls. I thought Jalen Brunson was the best Knick on the floor. Definitely among the first unit. 39 points, 10 assists, 13 for 26 from the floor, 12 for 13 from free throw line, 24 game balls on the year. Hopefully he's okay. I haven't gotten really any additional updates. Nothing that I've seen since the report late last night that they're optimistic that it was only an ankle sprain. So hopefully it's just a couple of weeks and it's not as long as I think. But we shall see. But yeah, Brunson continues to be the leader on this team, the best player on this team, the most important on this team, the heart of this team. I have nothing but good things to say about his performance last night. He's not been the same player from three-point land this year. I will attribute some of that to him just not making shots. I will also attribute a lot of that to these lineups that don't emphasize floor space. But Jalen Brunson gets his 24th game ball last night, which I believe is first on the team, although Deuce might be ahead by one. And then you go to the second unit. I really didn't like anybody in the second unit too much, but I think Mitchell Robinson was the best among the bench players last night. Finishes 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 for 2 on his free throws. That was nice to see him knock both of those down when he got fouled in the first half. It's obviously his first game ball of the year. I like the defense. You could argue he should have been in the game late for defense when Cat slipped in the fourth quarter there. Again, if you're going to do that, you got to take Hart off the floor. Maybe you had a good point for that. But, you know, I think he's looked like anybody else would look who's coming off surgery and missed the entire season. I think he's looked extremely rusty. His reaction timing is way off. His conditioning still needs to get better. But he's been fine in the limited minutes that he's played. And again, you saw that first double big lineup of the year last night. Hopefully it's not too much that we see it, but hopefully we do see it enough to where it can impact this defense in a positive way without taking too much away from their half-court offense. But Mitchell Robinson gets his first game ball last night. And that's it, folks. Up next for the Knicks, they've got another one tonight, the second of a back-to-back, which is why this is an audio-only episode. Because when we do the first of back-to-backs, we usually like to record 24 hours after the game, or a little less than that. So, you know, can't get everything in before the next game begins because the shelf life is going to be expired by then. So we did an audio-only episode, easier to set up this way. But the next game for the Knicks, we have the Los Angeles Clippers. So they're going, I don't know, across the street, wherever the hell they play now, to their arena. And that's tonight at 10:30. So 30 minutes later than last night's game was. So that's nice. Looks like I'll be getting the espresso machine out again. So second game of this 4-game West Coast trip, maybe 5-game. And it's against the Clippers. So they are a good team, but they're definitely not at the level that, especially now, the Lakers are. So we'll see what happens. And let's get to our trivia to wrap this one up. No soundbite tonight, but in this episode 816, our trivia question of the day, true or false? Former Knicks head coach Derek Fisher was the Lakers' starting point guard during their last 3-game win streak against the Knicks. All right. True or false? Former Knicks head coach Derek Fisher, was the Lakers' starting point guard during their last 3-game win streak against the Knicks. All right, so this is I'll give you a hint. This is the first 3-game win streak the Lakers have had against the Knicks since the early 2010s. That's as big as a hint as I'll give you, because I think you can figure this one out. True or false? Appreciate you all. That's all we got. As usual, I say it's going to be less than 30 minutes, and it goes damn near 40. So that's what we do here. We over talk. Thanks all. See you soon. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.